The traditional late-night talk show format has remained largely the same over the past 6 decades since it was perfected by Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, in the 1960s. The format goes something like this. The host, usually a professional comedian, comes out and gives a monologue, reading a prepared set of jokes, sometimes with the musical stylings of a house band. Over the course of the show, 1 or 2 celebrity guests, told by their agents to come on the show to promote whatever their latest project is, are trotted out to answer questions or, in some cases, play a game with the host. Mixed throughout the show are an assortment of topical comedic segments that lightly satirize current events or popular culture, and the show will often include a musical number performed by a popular music group. This has proven to be a winning format for over half a century. The combination of comedy and celebrity provides that targeted dopamine hit that Americans, weary and aching from hours of backbreaking work, are desperate for. They want to see their favorite TV and movie stars perform silly skits, answer trivial questions, pat themselves on the back about the success of their career, and give an update on where it's headed next. And damn it, they want to hear Kanye West perform Believe What I Say from his latest album Donda on TV, which I can understand because that song slaps. Recently, VTuber Ironmouse has started to host an occasional late-night show called Speak of the Devil. In it, Ironmouse interviews other VTubers in front of a live audience of thousands, where questions are asked about topics ranging from the intimate to the absurd. But unlike a traditional late-night talk show, there are no comedy segments or musical guests. There's no audience in studio to laugh and clap at every witticism and joke. With just a desk, a chair, and 2 virtual avatars, it's a talk show stripped down to its most basic element, conversation. Watching Speak of the Devil made me realize just how much traditional talk shows value the show aspect of the program over the talking aspect. A lot of words are said over the course of a traditional talk show, but so little of them are valued, even by the ones saying them. With all the games and frivolities that surround the interview portion of the show, how are either the interviewer or the interviewee supposed to take anything that's being discussed between the 2 of them seriously? The other antics of the show have already conditioned the audience to view both parties as jesters. Every sentence spoken in the interview is now a joke, with an audience hungry for the eventual punchline to drop. Speak of the Devil doesn't necessarily trade in serious conversation either, but the removal of late night's penchant for humorous shenanigans means the option to do so is there, and I feel there's a lot of value in that. There's no chance of having a situation like the infamous Mr. Rogers interview on Carson, where the conditioned studio audience laughed multiple times at Rogers while he was trying to have a serious conversation about the education of young people on TV. Thankfully, Carson, who is a consummate professional, immediately saw what was going on and changed the tone of the interview from then on in order to clue the audience in. If Ironmouse wants to have an in-depth discussion on, say, the potential for VTubing to allow the disabled community to maintain a visual presence on the internet without the fear of discrimination or exclusion, it'll be treated with the seriousness that such a subject demands. While there are only 4 episodes out so far, Speak of the Devil has already developed something of a running joke. As host, Ironmouse is expected to be the interviewer for the entirety of the show's runtime, controlling the topics and direction of the show's discussion. Yet, seemingly every time, she is eventually usurped by her guest and winds up being interviewed instead.
Why is it that every single show I have, everybody ends up interviewing me? That's the running gag now. The running gag is everybody interviews me.
I like this gag. I'm glad that I could help out with this gag.
But to me, this doesn't feel like a running joke. It feels like an indication that the tone of the show doesn't imply to the guest that it's an interview, but rather a discussion. In an interview, the interviewer's job is to get information out of their subject, providing only responses and banter that will elicit more responses from the subject and set them up to show off only the best parts of their personality. So why is it that the guests on Speak of the Devil always seem to toss aside the one-sided interview in favor of a conversation or two-sided interview where the guest and host take turns interviewing each other? The reason for this is simple. This benefits both parties far greater than a traditional interview does. The English VTubing community has developed a supportive environment over the years, with bigger VTubers more than happy to do their part in elevating lesser-known but promising young VTubers with name drops, collaborations, and Twitch raids, among other things. It's unusual in the old world of entertainment, but makes sense in VTubing's new age style style of entertainment, where content begets more content, which begets yet more content. What do I mean by content exactly? Content in this context means any concentrated moment of entertainment which will captivate the audience and set clippers, the VTubing equivalent of the paparazzi, scrambling all over each other to spread the ball of pure spectacle to every corner of YouTube, Twitter, and beyond. Let's use Speak of the Devil with False ID as an example. Being on Ironmouse's stream, which regularly boasts tens of thousands of viewers, gives False ID exposure, and by answering questions he can better introduce himself to the new audience, some of whom may be interested in viewing his content in the future. But how does this interaction benefit Ironmouse? Why, by producing more content, of course. The best way False ID can repay Ironmouse for the exposure provided to him is by creating as much content as possible, and the best way to do this is for him to take control of the conversation. Recall a little bit earlier when I mentioned that the interviewer's job is to set their subject up, to show off only the best parts of their personality, and elicit information from them that will interest the audience. At the end of the day, the audience in attendance is Ironmouse's, and the interactions they're most likely to clip, share, and discuss online are those where it is Ironmouse who's being forced to make the content. And trust me, it's not hard to make Ironmouse produce content if you know which buttons to push.
I want to hit this subject, Mouse, and you can shoot me down.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of marriage, let's talk about Connor.
What? What? Wait, what? Excuse me?
He's seen your IRL non-VTuber self. He's seen your face before, and he called you, no cap, cute. So the question we have is, did you send him photos or video of any part of yourself beyond that? I'm just kidding. You don't have to answer that. Also, if you two had children, what would their names be? No, wait, you don't have to answer that.
In this way, having both Ironmouse and her guests take turns as interviewer, or abandoning the interview structure altogether and instead having a conversation where the exchange is balanced equally between both parties, is the ideal way for Speak of the Devil to operate. The result is a new form of talk show that seamlessly blends the conversational banter of a podcast, the stylings of a traditional late-night talk show, and the excitement of live entertainment all into one package. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's taken note of Speak of the Devil's potential. It's still early days, but as Ironmouse matures as a host, I believe the show could become a regular must-see event. Ironmouse has managed to capture lightning in a bottle with this idea, and I expect the number of VTubers actively vying for a place on the show will rise exponentially in the coming months. As for me, I'll continue to monitor the show's development with great interest. This has been Unending Quandary, saying thank you for watching and take care.
I wonder what that's for. Yum, 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 yum.